Hello, I'm Jennie Rayment and I'm going to show you how to use the Easy Quilting Scallop templates. When you get your packet of templates, you'll find there are two scallops inside. There's a smaller one and there's a big one. That is because this set of scalloped edges gives you the potential for making any amount of scallops along the edge of your quilt. Or dressmaking. Think the edge of a skirt. Think the edge of a frill on a curtain. This tool is just not for patchworkers. This is for absolutely anybody, from your dressmakers or anyone in the craft world who wants to create a series of scallops. Now, the reason for the numbers on the edges of the scallop are because these can be made into different sizes to fit different lengths of fabric or different sizes of quilts. How the template actually works is you measure the length of the edge you want to put a scallop in. You then decide how many scallops you're going to have. For instance, a piece of fabric in front of me measures 30 inches from one side to the other. I could use the small scalloped edge and have something like 6 lots of 5-inch scallops, or I could have 5 lots of 6-inch scallops, or as it's 30 inches, I could have 10 lots of 3 or 3 lots of 10, etc., etc. So I've decided to have 3 lots of 10, and I've set the larger scallop section at the 10 measurement. This, when I draw along the edge, will give me 3 10-inch scallops. So when it comes down to using these templates, it's a question of a little bit of mathematics. Measure the length of the side you want to fit it to, decide how many scallops you want, and make it fit. If there's a slight discrepancy in the measurement, the best way to do it is to just jiggle it a little bit or fudge it slightly and either leave a slight gap between the scallops or just move it over, overlap it a bit. One very good way round to avoid any major problems is draw a scallop either end and work your way towards the middle. So I've set my scallop at 10 inches. Taking a water erasable pen, you could use any pen you like. You might want to use the Easy Quilting air erasable one. You might like to use one of the Easy Quilting pencils from their pencil pack. But any pen you like. Set the scallop template on the very edge and draw an arc. If you take the scallop to the other end of the piece of work, you can draw another arc that end. And because I've got 3, the third one that I'm going to draw should just fit in the middle. If it doesn't, I can jiggle it a bit and make it fit. Look, there you are, perfect. So I've got 3 scallops. Now, you might say to yourself, how do I cope with the corner? Well, with this tool, you have a choice of 2 ways of doing the corner. You can either have an arced corner, as I have on the piece of fabric here, or you can have, if you prefer, to have a pointed corner, as we have here. The arced corner is done by taking the template and starting again down the other side of the work and placing the template exactly in the corner. So the 2 lines overlap to there. You then place the template in the center, so turn it round and get it aligned in the very center and draw an arc. And that is going to give you your arced edge. If you want to have a pointed edge, you do it like this. The pointed edge is going to look something as we have here. So I'll turn the fabric over. This time you start off with your scallop template and you draw half a scallop. So this is a 10-inch scallop, so I want to do my scallop starting about 5 inches in. And very often when I'm doing this, I'll take the ruler and just measure 5 inches in, so I've got a rough idea as to where the scallop template wants to start from. So let me get my ruler around the right way and just put a little mark, just to give me a guideline. Put your template so you've only got half an arc. So you can see I've drawn half an arc. If I were continuing along this side, I continue with my template and go all the way along here. But to get the pointy bit on the corner, you want to draw half an arc in the other direction. So bring your template to the corner there. You might want to measure your 5 inches. So let's do that so we can be truly accurate. Measure the 5 inches. There we go. Put a little dot. just to give yourself a vague guideline as to where is half the template. I'll move it more into the middle of the board, then you can see what's happening. So template on there, get it round there, and draw yourself, go round there, another half an arc. And then you'll continue in the regular way all the way down the rest of the quilt. And that will give you the rather nice pointed edges. Now, if you were to do this arced edge around the edge of any one quilt, you could end up with something that looked a little bit like this one, where you can see how the scalloped edge has been used very neatly, very tidily, all the way along the edge. If you didn't want to use a scallop template for something like a quilt, you could consider a tablecloth. And on this small tablecloth, because I can adjust the sizes of the scallops, I have fitted my scalloped edge to fit this section of the design. So it looks really rather good when it's on a table. Now you might say to yourself, what do I do when I've done my scalloped edge? How would I make it work? Well, if you take a quilt, or it could be a rug, a blanket, a piece of dressmaking fabric, but if you're going to make a quilt, I would draw my scalloped edge all the way around. I would then stitch inside the drawn line using the walking foot, or possibly doing it free motion, but making sure if I've got 3 layers that I'm using a foot that doesn't push the fabrics. Having done that and stitched inside the scallop, that is when I would cut the excess fabric away to that nice scallop line. So using your rotary cutter, cut all the way round, and that will cut off the extra fabric and give you an easy edge to actually bind. When you come to bind any scalloped edge, you will have to cut your binding on the bias. It must be a bias cut. The binding can then be applied to the edge, stitched down, and then turned up and over and slip stitched in place down the other side. And just think what a beautiful edge this is going to make to your plain ordinary quilt, is to actually take the scalloped edge and give it a very good scallopy edge all the way around with nice rounded corners, and then bind it. So the scallop tool gives you the chance to have big scallops with this section. It gives you the chance to have smaller scallops with this one. You can use it on your dressmaking, on your soft furnishings, on your home deck, on your quilts. Why not add an interesting edge to your quilt using the easy quilting scallop?